So let's talk about event emitters and listeners. In Node.js, event emitter is like a notification system, and one part of the app is sending the event, emit, and the other is listening and reacting. So dot on is used to listen. And that this is very simple example of that. And events are synchronous, so listeners run immediately one after the other. If we talk about Node HTTP compared to Express, so in using Node HTTP, we have to do things manually. And here's the example how much more lengthy it is, more complicated. And we have to manually check the method, we have to check URL and then send a response. When we look at the example of the Express, this is much simpler and it handles a lot for you. So how much shorter the code is, how much more straightforward and cleaner it is. So this is the biggest difference. When we talk about middleware and routing, middleware runs before the main route. It can also modify the request or decide what happens next. So here is a little example, app.get of that, and then routing decides what happens based on URL and method. So here we have app get. Here we have app get. So finally, how is HTTP data handled? There are different methods. Get is for getting data. Post is for sending data. Put is for replacing data, patch for editing, and delete for removing. In Express, handling a post request with JSON is pretty easy. Here is an example of the code. So the rack body already contains parsed data, which makes things easier. So we can use res send for text, res JSON for JSON, and res status for status codes. For responses, usually use res send. For error handling and to get sending a status code, you can oftentimes see this piece of code. And for error handling, Express uses a special middleware. So the second part is the example of how it looks in Express. So to summarize everything, event emitters let parts of your app communicate. Node is HTTP is low level and manual, and Express pretty much helps to create code a lot easier and it's a lot cleaner. Middleware runs before route handlers. And the last point, every request must always get a response.